Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Ramo Rajamani Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Bihata Nishacharachamu Ramaya Tasmai Namaha. Raman Nasti Parayanam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmyaham. Rame Chittalaya Sada Bhavatu Me Bho Rama Mamuddhara. Samasta Janakalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram. Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram. Hari Om. Vidyaranya Swamiji has been walking us through different pairs of seer and seen, helping us arrive at the absolute seer, which is our true nature, which is of the nature of happiness itself, knowing which we don't need to seek for other sources of happiness. But right now, as a sadhaka, for us, this sakshi appears to be mixed up with several other things, and it does not, our attention does not go on what is this real sakshi, what is the nature, what is my true nature. So this prakriya, the method of Drigdrishya Viveka, helps a seeker to systematically look at daily experiences and arrive at the absolute seer. And once this method is thorough, it will be very helpful to own up our nature as Sakshi. So we saw the first 5 verses and we saw 4 rules of seer and seen. As I mentioned in the earlier classes also, the most important rule is rule number 1, that seer and seen are different, and if there is a seen, seer has to be there, and their attributes will be different. They won't transfer onto each other. This rule becomes very critical in the third one, where we say because thoughts are known, there has to be a knower of thoughts. Thoughts are known, therefore there has to be a knower. Because thoughts are seen, there has to be a seer. And both their attributes will be different. They won't mix up. So if there is a happy thought, Sakshi will not become happy. If there is a sad thought, Sakshi will not become sad. Knowing this is the greatest strength on which we can move further in Advaita Vedanta. Owning up our nature as Sakshi and being able to live our life with this knowledge. That also is another part. So we said there are few things that we have concluded until now. First one is Sakshi is. First conclusion is there is something called as Sakshi and it is. Why? Because thoughts are seen. That is the first conclusion. Second is, where is this Sakshi? Is it somewhere else? Is it somewhere far off? They say no. This Sakshi is Antaranga. That is why the systematic process of coming from outside Drishya to inside Sakshi. Again, these words are to eliminate erroneous notions. When we say outside, inside, it is the first step. Later on, Upanishad, this Grantha itself will say, even that idea we should transcend. But right now, if somebody is looking for Sakshi somewhere, looking for consciousness somewhere, but they find it nowhere, so they should start at a point. So this point is to say that consciousness, don't look for it outside, it is available right here. Okay, first point was Sakshi is, second was it is Antaranga. And third point was, it never becomes Drishya. That was that first shloka. Drugeva natu drishyate. Doesn't become Drishya means what? See, there is a far off mountain somewhere in a forest. That is also not Drishya to me right now. It is not that kind of Drishya we are talking. Not becoming Drishya means its nature is of that kind. Even if you try to search for Sakshi as Drishya Vastu, it will never become Drishya. So Drishyatva Dharma, that is not there in Sakshi. It is always of the nature of Drashta. It will never become seen. So these are some hints, indicators of nature of Sakshi. But Vidyaranya Swamiji feels there has to be more clarity about nature of Sakshi. Means we should know what exactly is our nature, or in other words, we should know what we are not. Whatever remains, that is our true nature. So that is why the fifth verse has come. This will be the prakriya, that one part of our meditation, one part of sadhana is to say, I am not body, mind, intellect. I am the witness of it. That is one portion. But what is the nature of this witness will come from Upanishad. More clarity about what exactly is the nature of Sakshi. And then we will use little bit of logic, not too much. Little bit of logic to strengthen this understanding what is the nature of Sakshi. Okay. So that will be our meditation process also, owning up these indicators. So we'll chant the fifth verse. Nodeti nastametyesha navruddhim yati nakshayam swayam vibhatyatha jnani bhasayet sadhanam vinam. So this fifth verse is an elaboration of Drugeva natu drishyate, the last quarter of the first verse. That is this elaboration. So Vidyaranya Swamiji says, what is the nature of this Sakshi? Na udeti, na astameti, esha. It does not rise, it does not set. Means it is not born, it does not die. Now apply each of this to our understanding of I. As pure consciousness, there is no birth, there is no death. Mixed up with something else, mixed up with body, mixed up with mind, there will be this Lakshana. There will be Udaya, there will be Asta. At some point I will say, I am born. Not pure consciousness. Consciousness identified with body will say, I am born. That is the erroneous notion which this phrase is trying to overcome. Then it says, na vruddhim yati na kshayam. It does not grow. Okay, vruddhi means it does not increase in its proportions. Na vruddhim yati na kshayam. It does not decay also. Means there is no modification in Sakshi. That at some point it was better consciousness, and now suddenly the consciousness starts growing, and then now it starts, dwindling down. So these growth and decay are lakshana, are indicators or attributes of body, mind, and everything else. So it is said it is not consciousness which is growing, what is decaying. This is a very helpful tip in meditation. Sometimes we feel, today my meditation was very good. means I became better consciousness. Or sometimes we say, my meditation was not so good today. What is our parameter there? If mind was calm, we say meditation was good. And if mind was agitated, we say meditation was not so good. Which from a transactional standpoint, we can understand that mind was not able to focus. But this understanding should not translate into that consciousness was better on one day and on some day it was not as much available to me or something. Quietening the mind and everything is part of, has a lot to do with sadhana, has a lot to do with our vyavahara. That is why in Gita, Bhagwan says, moderation in vyavahara will help the seeker in meditation. So that part is given here. And this is a slightly technical topic where it is said there are 6 types of modification given by Muni called as Yaska Muni. First modification is asti. Okay, something is there at least in seed form. Asti is the first one. Second is called jayate. Because it is there, it is born. Jayate. Vardhate means the third one, it grows. Asti, it is. Jayate, it is born. Vardhate, it grows. Viparinamate, it not only grows, it transforms while it's growing. You apply all these things to body, you will see that these are the types or indicators referring to body. It is born. Asti jayate, vardhate, it grows. Viparinamate, it transforms. Apakshiyate. Apakshiyate means it starts decaying. And finally, it is destroyed. It is called vinashyati. So this name and form gets destroyed after some time. But the interesting point is, there is somebody who knows the modifications. So apply the same rule, seer and seen. If I know these modifications, if I can see that there is modification in the body, there is transformation happening in the body. It might be a slow process, but it is seen, it is noticed. That is why I am not that, I am of the nature of pure consciousness. All these modifications belong to the body. And if one modification is there, all 6 will come along with it. Okay, so if we can see vardhate, we should know that vinashyati also will come. It cannot stop in between anywhere. I'm just touching upon these points. Each of these points have been elaborated very, in detail in several Shankara Bhashyas, because Bhagwan elaborates why Advaita Vedanta is so firm about nature of consciousness. Okay. So we can keep it to that level. We can just say that. First one was, it is not born, it does not die. Second is, it does not have any modifications. Now the second line of this verse, Swayam Vibhati Ata Anyani Bhasayet. This is the nature of Chaitanya. Swayam Prakasha, when we say, what is the nature of consciousness? This is that line. It shines on its own, it has the ability to illumine on its own, and it also illumines other things which are capable of being illumined. For example, mind has ability to reflect consciousness. Okay, so that is why consciousness will directly illumine all the thoughts and so on. Swayam Vibhati, it shines on its own, and it shines or it illumines everything else. Bhasayet, how does it do that? Sadhanam vina. I mean, there is no another instrument needed for consciousness to illumine. If mind has to illumine an object, it needs a thought. So through thought, mind will illumine other things. Sense organs are needed, light is needed, physical light, not illumining light. Simple physical light is needed if eyes have to see an object. But for example, if you want to see the same, let us say a lamp by your eyes closed, you don't need physical light. Okay, so consciousness is directly illumining that thought. We can keep it at that for now. Swayam vibhati athanyani bhasayet sadhanam vina. Now, what we will do is, we said that this verse talks about nature of Sakshi, right? Nature of pure consciousness. Let us look at some more attributes, some more indicators of Sakshi. And this we will look at from a logical standpoint. Main pramana, main source for us to know about nature of consciousness is Upanishad. So different Upanishad mantras will tell us what is the nature of Sakshi, what is the nature of Atma. Najayate mriyate va vipaschita. Nayam kudaschinna babhuva kaschita. Like that, different indicators will be given. So we will just pick few words and then look at it from a logical standpoint. The purpose again is that we use these words in meditation. Sometimes, we say, I am nirvikara. But how am I nirvikara? If there is some kind of understanding behind it, this conviction will become stronger. That is the whole purpose. I hope everybody is with me, and this will be a little, if this is the first time you are listening to some logic, then it might seem a little rough, but I tell you, the same methodology will be used in any logical text that you study. Either it is Advaita Makaranda or in Shankara Bhashya, many places, this will be the same line of thinking. How to arrive at nature of consciousness using logic. Logic which supports Shruti. We should always remember that. Okay. So first thing that we saw about Sakshi was, Sakshi is, Astitva is first established. Second, it is Antaranga. It is innermost. And third is, it never becomes Drishya. Now see the beauty of logic. If you just hold on to the third rule, right, it never becomes Drishya, many other indicators of Sakshi will become clear. Okay, first one we will take. What never becomes Drishya is always Nirakara. Why do we say that? Nirakara means that which does not have shape. Shape is always there in Drishya Vastu. For example, this pencil, right? This is Drishya. It is seen, and that is why it has shape. Or whatever has shape becomes seen. Okay, Akara means shape. That Akara is always there in Drishya. Now, what is the nature of Sakshi? It never becomes Drishya. Drug eva natu drishyate. So if it doesn't become Drishya, it doesn't have Akara. That is why I am Nirakara. Okay, this is the first one. Because Sakshi doesn't become Drishya, it is Nirakara. What is Nirakara? What doesn't have any shape? It is infinite. Okay, what is Nirakara is Anantam. Why don't we say this object is infinite? Because there is a boundary, there is a shape. So in space, there is a limitation to this object. So if there is something which doesn't have any shape, it has to be infinite. Okay, this is the second thing. I hope everybody is following through. I will try to go slow and we can repeat if we have time. So natu drishyate, that is not seen. And we are talking about ourselves, not some Sakshi. That is why we are talking about Antaranga Sakshi, our own true nature. Because Sakshi never becomes seen, it doesn't have any shape. It is Nirakara. And Nirakara Vastu is always Ananta. It is always infinite. Just like space. Okay, space doesn't have any form. It is infinite. Now we will go to next one. This word nirakara. Okay. Nirakara also means it doesn't have any parts. Parts can be there only when there is a shape. Just like this pencil, right? It has a part, it has an eraser, it has this portion that can stick onto it. When something has a shape, it implies that it also has parts. Avayava it is called. So that which is nirakara becomes niravayava. In other words, it's also called as nishkala. Without parts means it is niravayava. Avayava means parts and niravayava means without parts. Okay, these are nature of sakshi. Now a thing which is niravayava does not undergo any modification. So it is nirvikara. Vikara means modification and nirvikara means that which is devoid of modification. Modification can come in an object only if it has parts, because parts are the ones that will start modifying. If there is no part, if this object is without shape, what modification can come in it? For example, if you have a car, when we say the car breaks down, some part in that car has broken down. Some avayava, some portion of that car has undergone modification. That is why we say that this car has broken down. So this object, this sakshi that we are talking about, this is not sakshi, huh? This sakshi is here. This sakshi that we are talking about doesn't have any parts. That is why it is nirvikara. It does not undergo any modification. That is why Vidyaranya Swamiji said, Navruddhim yati nakshayam. Okay, but if you want to logically understand, this is the way. Okay, nirvikara. If something is niravayava, something is without parts, that same thing becomes nirvikara. Nirvikara means it is avinashi. It can never be destroyed. Because destruction can come only if it is able to undergo vikara. So what is nirvikara will become avinashi. And lastly, I hope it is not too deep, too much to understand in one day. What is nirvikara is also asanga. Asanga means untouched by anything else. That is the nature of nirvikara vastu. So space, for example, is nirvikara. It does not undergo any modification. That is why space is untouched by any of the other elements. If you try to spray water in the air will get wet, but not the space. If you try to burn something, if you try to put some fire and try to burn space, nothing will happen to space. Air might get hot. And other objects which are there, they might get hot, not the space. Why? Because it is nirvikara. What is nirvikara is always avinashi. It cannot be destroyed. In Bhagavad Gita, the same concept is given. I'm not going in all the shlokas, but we should understand what is the flow of thought. And gradually, if we can dwell on it, internalize it, own it up, there will be more conviction in meditation. Nirvikara is also asanga. Okay, that which cannot undergo any modification, that is asanga. Okay, I hope everybody is with me so far. I will go through it again now, quickly. If you are taking notes or something, you can just match. And of course, you can ask if there is any doubt. First was, where did we start? One aspect of meditation is being a witness of thoughts, being witness of drishya, everything. That is one aspect of meditation, but it's not complete yet. Meditation is complete only when I own up my true nature. I am witness, that is okay, but what is my true nature? So there comes the different indicators of Sakshi. What was the first one that we held on to? Or three that we already established. Sakshi is Antaranga, it is innermost, and Sakshi never becomes Drushya. These were the three main points. This we came to know from all this seer scene pair analysis that we did, 4 rules that we saw, everything. So the third one was Sakshi never becomes Drushya. So now we start putting one nature of Sakshi in our pocket. So in meditation, we can use each one of them and dwell on it for as much as we can. So we said what is not Drushya is Nirakara. Akara, shape, is always there in Drushya Vastu, like this pencil. It has ability to be Drushya, that is why it has a shape. Okay. Whatever has a shape becomes Drushya. You put it in other way also. So Nirakara was the first one. And what is Nirakara is Anantam. There is no boundary to limit it, so it is infinite. So when I think of myself as Sakshi, I am not limited to only one intellect. I am all pervading Sakshi. This is the thing we should dwell on. Okay, that was second one. First was it is Nirakara. Second one it is Anantam. It is infinite. Third one is Nirakara doesn't have any parts. There is no shape itself where what to talk about parts in that shape. Unlike this pencil. This pencil has shape, therefore it has parts. It has an eraser, it has this thing, it has a lead, and so on. And these parts can be broken apart because it has akara, because it has a shape. Sakshi is that which is Nirakara. It doesn't have shape, that is why it doesn't have any parts. Niravayava or Nishkala. In Amrita Bindu Upanishad also we saw this. Tadeva Nishkalam Brahma. Nishkalam is the word used there, but how to arrive there, that you come to know through this understanding. Nishkala. That which is Nishkala, that which doesn't have parts, does not undergo any growth or decay, because growth and decay can be only in parts. When I say this pencil has broken apart, what has broken apart is some part of it. Either the eraser has come out, or this lead has come out, or something has happened which makes this pencil fall apart. Car also you take, whatever has part, that will undergo modification. Body also you take, different parts are there, some part will start undergoing modification. But pure consciousness, which is our true nature, that is not having any parts, so it does not undergo any modification. Okay, what is the word I used? Nira avayava, Nishkala. That is the word. So Nirakara, that which doesn't have a shape, that is also Niravayava. And what is Niravayava is also Nirvikara. Nirvikara means it doesn't undergo modification. That is our true nature. And what is Nirvikara is also Avinashi. What does not undergo modification, that is indestructible. That is Avinashi. And all of these are nature of Sakshi. Okay, last one we also saw is Sakshi is Asanga. It is untouched by anything else, because whatever is Avinashi, whatever is Nirvikara, that is also Asanga, just like space. Okay, space is Nirvikara. It is not undergoing any modification, and it is Avinashi. It cannot be destroyed. And it is also Asanga. It is not affected by anything from this creation. Okay, I hope that gives some insight. What you can do is dwell on it more, think about it more. And next session we will have guided meditation. Purpose of meditation is to own up these attributes. Own up these as our own true nature. And also we should not form another idea of what these indicators are. We should not feel that, oh, there is some nirvikara. Vikara is happening here in this body. That is why the word is used, nirvikara. I have identified with body and I think myself as vikari. So to remove that notion, through logic we saw how it is removed. But Upanishads will bring this particular word that will help us let go of all erroneous notions. But in meditation, we don't have to do this analysis. This is part of mananam. Okay, while you are sitting there, you don't have to bring about all these 6 points and feel frustrated. I missed the third one. I was so nicely sitting, then unnecessarily you brought all these points and now I'm more agitated. That is not the purpose. Purpose is just to get conviction. So if you can dwell on it separately, discuss with others how this process is, unfolded, it will help a lot. Okay, so we'll conclude here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Okay, there are some questions here. Space seems to satisfy all conditions for being Sakshi. What differentiates it from Sakshi? True. All these things are to discuss, right? Nirakara, it doesn't have shape. Nirvikara doesn't have modification. Everything will fit under Sakshi, fit for space. But there is one thing that will not fit for space, that is Swayam Prakasha. Space is inert and consciousness is sentient. Okay, that is the main difference. So if a pot is broken, the space inside the pot doesn't know that the pot is broken. But consciousness knows what body has been taken and what body has been dropped. This is from Amrita Bindu Upanishad, that space is inert and consciousness is sentient. It is of the nature of consciousness. You don't have to say consciousness is sentient. So that is the main difference. All right. Next question is an interesting one. Isn't the mind also formless? Whenever we say vritti, vritti is always about some akara. If I see a pot, the thought that I have in mind is called ghatakara vritti. If I see, this phone, the thought in my mind is called phonakara vritti. With this phone, that thought is formed. Then only I can see this object. So in that sense, mind also has a form. That is the akara. Vritti itself is the akara of mind. Formless meaning what? It is not gross. Gross meaning, our Vedantic word, gross. Means it is not sthula. From that standpoint, we call mind is subtle. But it is not formless in that sense. It has a form of object. Otherwise, we won't be able to know object. The way we know object is, mind has to take form of that object, and that form, that thought is known. Okay. I hope that answers the question. Is Atman another word for Sakshi? That is correct. Atman is another word for Sakshi. Brahma is also another word for Sakshi. Atma, Paramatma, all words are used for Sakshi. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan uses, right? Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi. That same Lord who is pervading over this entire creation, who rules over this entire creation, is this Sakshi. Only thing I have to do is shift my attention from conditionings. If attention is on conditioning, then there is a bheda. Okay, one is tiny little creature, another is so big. Power is very different. One is alpajna, knows very limited things. The other one knows a lot of things. Sarvajna he is. From the standpoint of consciousness, it is the same word. That is what is said. Okay, I hope this question is answered. What about the property of being created or born? Also, space has all these properties. So how is Sakshi different? So I hope that second part of that is clarified, that Sakshi is different because Sakshi is sentient. I'm a conscious entity. I express life. Space is insentient. This is the beauty of examples, Example can never be the same as the indicated. If it's the same, then it's not an example. You're referring to that same thing. So even if you use electricity example, all other examples that we use are meant to make us understand certain things. Once that understanding is done, we should hold on to the understanding and let go of the example. Because example will always fall short. Knowing where it is falling short will help us pick the right example. Okay, and it will help us understand also what is the real meaning of that particular point which is being told to us. Okay. So I hope that answers your question, Ji. Okay. Okay, science says space or universe is expanding. That is a change, isn't it? Yes, science will talk about change, science will talk about expansion, but all of that is happening in the realm of Drishya Vastu. And Vedanta says we are talking about Drashta. So that is the main difference. If there is expansion, there is Vikara happening, nobody argues against it. Creation is, the whole thing is, a play of modification. One thing modifying into another, second thing modifying into third. In those modification, expansion also you include as another modification. But this is talking about who is the witness of these modifications. Okay, so that is how we, distinguish consciousness, the department of consciousness from department of drishya. What is seen, all of that is undergoing modification. Okay, so I hope you will get a chance to look over these ideas, but don't worry if it's, too logical or, having nyaya as its root, but we don't need to go too much into it. We will not also in this text. Just to get more conviction, I mentioned this one. Later on, verses are all very straightforward. They will help us understand more if this was not clear. Okay, one last question I will take and then we'll pause. Consciousness illumining everything, including mind. But with mind, we are trying to understand consciousness. Is the mind the closest or the last station towards journey to Sakshi? So one thing we should be a little careful here when we say, through the mind we are trying to understand consciousness, not as an object. Add that portion also. I am trying to understand this object, right? What is the color? What is the shape? What is the function? All of these I'm trying to understand as an object of the mind. When we say we are trying to use the mind to understand Sakshi, we are trying to let go of erroneous notions which we have included in Sakshi. It is because of Sakshi that mind is able to think. It is because of Sakshi mind is able to do all its functions, sense organs are able to know, and so on. So that is the way we are using the mind to let go of what we are not. Last station in Sakshi means what? This is the closest tadatmya. Outside object, we might have attachment to it, but I never start feeling I am the phone. Although it is different from me, different from pure consciousness, but I don't directly feel that I am this phone. But come closer. I start feeling that I am this body. Drishyatva dharma is same. In phone also it is same, in body also it is same. Both are drishya. But you see the level of attachment, level of mix-up is getting more and more. Come a little closer. When it comes to mind, I feel I am the mind. I don't say it, but whatever is the nature of this mind, our Swamiji discussed this in Nataka Deepa. Whatever buddhi does, I start feeling I am doing it. Whatever chanchalya is there in buddhi, in mind, that chanchalya I start feeling is my own chanchalya. This is what we have to dwell on. That is why it becomes the last station. Other stations are easier to understand comparatively. Different sadhanas will be mentioned at different levels. If some object is an attachment, if that is a concern, Drigdrisha Viveka will not help me get detachment from this. Okay, detachment will come from Bhajagovindam. Bhajagovindam, whatever Shankaracharya ji has said, that is to first detach from outer things. Detachment, again, understand how we defined it. Right contact, not throwing it away or running away somewhere, having the right contact. So that will come from Bhajagovindam. Karma Yoga will help there. Sadhanas will be at that level. Coming to body, devotion will help a lot. Devotion to Bhagwan. Outside object also it will help, but it will make us turn more inwards. So like this, different sadhanas will be mentioned, but the most subtle sadhana is this last one, inquiring into nature of mind. That is why it becomes last station. It is more difficult to let go of this tadatmya. It takes several janmas, several years of sadhana for us to own up this knowledge. Although we have studied Drigdrisha Viveka, it doesn't mean that we have, subscribed to this thought process and made it our own thought process. And we should take our time. There is no hurry to rush through it and somehow or the other try to own it up. Systematically, if we start thinking about it, we'll be able to own up. Okay, all right, we'll conclude here. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Hari Om, everyone. We'll have our Manas Parayan in the afternoon. Those of you can join.